Yo, I got a green screen now. Isn't that cool? I can put whatever I want back here. Oh, no. No, 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 no. Ending themes. Compared to openings, they're underrated, undervalued, and underappreciated, and I'm gonna try to fix that. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit. People still love them, but it's still pretty clear that endings are very often glossed over, ignored, and skipped. No thanks to auto-skip buttons on a lot of streaming platforms, we've turned most people into ending skippers as the default option, not just in anime, but in TV shows in general. And it's too bad because I love ending themes. Some of my favorite songs ever happen to be anime endings, and I really think that so much creativity and care goes into them that it'd be a shame to not talk about them more. So I'm making it my personal goal for the next
19 minutes and 49 seconds
to showcase as much as I can think of when it comes to the many different kinds of endings and the ways that endings are used in anime. Okay, first a quick disclaimer. Obviously, I'm going to be mentioning a whole bunch of anime endings, and inevitably, I'm going to miss a whole bunch of good ones, including probably your favorite. Maybe because I haven't seen the show, or maybe because I just decided not to include it for some reason, or maybe because I was just too busy eating my own shit and I just dumb poo-poo idiot forgot. But definitely feel free to share and talk about some of your favorites in the comments if I do miss them. Okay, let's do this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, the first question I want to tackle is, what makes endings different from openings? Oh, well, you see, openings play at the beginning while endings play at the end. Oh, okay. Okay, but really, in my video talking about anime openings, I mentioned that the job of an opening is often to establish the general tone and atmosphere of the show, which makes sense, but what about endings? Well, since an ending plays after you've been given context from an episode, they're often going to include some details that are a bit more specific to what you just saw. So because of that, we see a gigantic variety of endings out there, because there's a gigantic variety of specific ways that stories can play out. Endings are very often where the producers and animators get to go a little more wild and creative compared to openings. I mean, two recent examples from the season that's airing right now are the Konosuba Megaman spinoff and MASHLE. For both of these shows, the endings go in a more unique and creative direction, while the openings are a lot more normal and kind of in line with what you might expect coming into the show for the first time. The openings are basically like, oh, here's what the show's about. Yeah, it's hype. Yeah, woo, yeah, get hype. And the endings are like, I don't know, man. Fucking, here's a cream puff dance. Enjoy. And you might get some people like, oh, well, you see, the cream puff dance is actually very significant to the symbolism in the story because it represents— shut up! But the point is, you can't do this shit in an opening. If you're someone who hasn't seen the show, you'd be like, what? What the fuck am I looking at? But that's okay, because endings, unlike openings, aren't really supposed to double as like an advertisement for the show. They're mostly for the people already watching. Sometimes I even associate endings with shows more than openings because they play right after a lot of the most important moments in anime happen. Next, we'll talk about how endings play with the vibes. When you finish watching an anime episode, you'll usually be feeling a certain way. So maybe the episode ended on an intense cliffhanger and you're feeling frustrated or anxious. Or maybe it ended really well and satisfyingly. You know, like the main couple finally shared their first kiss and you're really happy, something like that. Or maybe nothing too crazy happened and you're just kind of chilling. Regardless of which of these it is, to me, an ending theme's job is to play with this feeling somehow. To take that line for how you're feeling and complement it or boost it. Or on the other side, it might just fuck with it and go a completely different way. And this, of course, brings me to the many different categories of ending themes that exist in anime. And I really do mean many, because there's probably like 30 poopillion different categories of anime endings out there. But the main two categories that most EDs are going to fit into are the two things that I just described. So we'll call them congruent and incongruent endings. Congruent endings are the ones that you don't really question. As the name would suggest, they're congruent or complementary or the same as the tone of the show. So if you've got a happy slice of life show, sometimes the ending is going to be this cute caramel dancing kind of thing, and the characters are flying around in the sky and being all happy and shit. For an intense show filled with magic and mystery like Re:Zero, you're going to kind of get an airy and mysterious ending. For a sad, depressing, dark show like Berserk, you're going to get, oh, I'm sad, I'm so sad, what's the point? Now, I'm kind of making fun of these, but by no means does congruent mean bad or boring. Some recent examples of congruent endings that I really enjoyed are the Spy X Family endings. You probably know that Spy X Family as a show has a big focus on building family connections and bonds. Everyone's favorite supporting character, Anya, is able to find her place to belong in this makeshift family. And you see that illustrated in both of the endings with tons of warm, cuddly family shit going on. The first ending song, Comedy by Gen Hoshino, is really laid back, while also kind of sounding like it's full of love and passion, you know, perfect for a family-centered show. And the second ending is a lot more fast-paced and chaotic, as we've now kind of gotten more settled into the family life and how crazy it can be, but it still kind of remains grounded and down-to-earth sounding. Both endings are also unreasonably cute. Like, look at this shit and look at how fucking cute it is. Oh my god. But the point is that congruent endings, when done well, can serve as extensions to the show itself. You get to see more of the characters that you already love each time the ending plays. And just to round out this section, here are some other rapid fire examples of congruent endings. Congruent endings are definitely the most common category of anime endings, which makes sense. But on the other side, we also have the exact opposite of congruent endings. We're gonna call these incongruent endings, the ones that don't make any fucking sense. Incongruent endings can serve a lot of purposes. One can be that they're just trying to tell some kind of hidden meaning that goes beyond what the anime is directly telling you, and another can be that the anime studio just said fuck it and started memeing all over the place. And it can actually be a lot of fun when they do this. One recent example is Jujutsu Kaisen's first ending, Lost in Paradise, where they went absolutely McDonald's.com/hamburgers on the creativity scale. The combination of this banger of a song with the simple but sleek sketchbook visuals spawned a mountain of variations and memes that I'm sure you've seen a whole bunch of times by now. And if you've seen or even heard about Jujutsu Kaisen, you probably know that this is not really the best representation of the show for the most part. But it's okay, and people love it anyway because of how fun it is. Some other notable examples of incongruent endings include Asobi Asobase. This is a gag comedy show that normally looks like this, and the ending looks like this. Akiba Maid War, the show is like this, and the ending is like this. And Made in Abyss. And it's also worth mentioning that sometimes you get an ending where it's not totally clear if it's incongruent or congruent, and that's because the show itself is kind of tonally all over the place, which sounds like a bad thing, but there are some examples of really great shows taking advantage of this ambiguity. And the one that inspired me to include this little section in the video in the first place is the currently airing Oshi no Ko. It's a series that you'd have a lot of difficulty pinning down describing in one sentence. There's tons of themes and layers to the show, it encompasses like 20 different genres, and that diversity is front and center in the opening and ending, where the opening is this upbeat idol pop song, literally called Idol, which by itself has its own layering of a whole bunch of different themes and tones. The ending is a bit slower, generally darker and more despairful. But the cool thing is that both of these themes, despite how different they are, I would say could be argued as both being congruent to the show, or both being incongruent. It's very much up to interpretation. Obviously, Oshi no Ko is far from the only example of this, but I just wanted to use it as a recent example to bring attention to how ambiguous this categorization can be given the right anime. Okay, that does it for congruent and incongruent. These are some of the most general categories I had, but like I've been saying, anime endings are very diverse and varied, so we've got a ton of more specific categories to talk about too. And oh, by the way, these categories can and do very often overlap, so an ending theme can definitely belong to multiple categories. Alright, to start things off, we've got relaxed/chill endings. These are surprisingly common, and are usually a bit incongruent when you compare them with the shows that they're coming from. Notably, a lot of shonens or shonen-adjacent shows use these to kind of dial things back a little bit after hitting you hard with some intense action or cliffhangers or something like that. And the more chill or slow songs kind of give you a chance to sit back and kind of reflect on the episode you just watched, rather than just trying to hype you up even more. And I think this can be pretty useful sometimes, especially since viewers might get a bit burnt out if the anime they're watching is just going constantly the entire time, so it's good to put some breaks in there, especially during binge watching sessions. And here are some good examples of notable relaxed style ending themes. Next we have nostalgic. Nostalgic endings are kind of similar to the relaxed and chill category, except they're usually a bit sadder or more somber. These are especially effective when you have a really dark show where everyone's always suffering all the time, and then you play this nostalgic, kind of half happy, half sad song that makes you think about the good times that once were, or the good times that will never come. They often show the characters enjoying happier, simpler times, and they have this side effect of being really, really mean, because they give the viewer that extra gut punch, like, hey, look at what these characters could have if not for, you know, all the shit that's going on. There's also nostalgic endings that don't come from shows like this, but they can give you kind of a similar feeling. You might get these in like, say, high school centered shows that kind of make you think back to those times. Or if you're still in those times, you young fucking piece of shit, they might make you appreciate them some more. Unless high school was totally dog shit for you, like it was for most people probably. I mean, I don't think any of us really had high school lives like the ones you see in anime, but even then, these kinds of endings can still induce these feelings of nostalgia for something, even if we never had them. But anyway, here's some notable examples once again. Okay, next, cute AF. I don't have much to say about these. These are just cute AF. They usually come from shows that are also cute AF, so it makes sense that they would be cute AF. Here's some examples. Emotional amplifier. This next category is kind of a big one. I mentioned earlier that anime endings obviously play at the ends of episodes, where it's pretty common to see some kind of big thing happening. A cliffhanger, a big plot reveal, an emotional scene, whatever it is, it's hitting you hard. And these endings kind of play the role of amplifying that hit as much as possible. Imagine episode 19 of Demon Slayer, except without the song leading into the credits at the end. Or episode 15 of ReZero without that haunting music and end credit sequence. For good reason, I think these are some of the most impactful endings out there. And to me, they can even be one of the first things that I think of when I think about the entire series that they appear in as a whole. When I think about Cyberpunk Edgerunners, I often think about how I felt while watching the ends of episodes, leading into the ending theme. So that ending theme is kind of locked in my memory when I think about those scenes. Same goes for Link Click, which I love so much that I made an entirely separate video just talking about that ending theme and its role in the show. Okay, next we have Just a Banger. This is the crazy one that can sometimes just be completely irrelevant to what just happened in the show. It's just a fucking banger, and it's super fun, and it makes you want to dance. And oftentimes the visuals will also match this and make it clear that the animators just wanted to have a good time with it. So once again, here's some tiny chunks of a bunch of them so that you can enjoy them each for 3 seconds before they get cut off and ruin your fun. Next is the Mario side-scroller. What the fuck are you talking about? What is a Mario side-scroller anime ending? Wait, shut up. It's gonna make sense. If you've watched enough anime, you'll know that the side-scroller is a weirdly common kind of ending. It's basically the ones where you see this big-ass extended scrolling or panning shot of the characters walking or doing whatever in a horizontal line. And I'm guessing it's probably because it's cheaper and faster to animate these, but holy shit, there are so many of them. And we got some variations too. We have the distant cousin of the horizontal side-scroller ending, which is the vertical side-scroller ending, and even the diagonal side-scroller ending. The possibilities are fucking endless. Okay, next we have character-focused endings. These are the ones that are themed around one character of the show. Pretty straightforward. These are pretty common in shows with character-centered arcs like the Monogatari series, and they can offer a deeper look into that character's backstory and possibly even offer some more insight into how they think and act in a way that goes beyond what the show tells you normally. And there's also a lot of anime that have the voice actors and voice actresses singing the show's opening or ending theme, and when you get those character-focused arcs like in Bunny Girl Senpai, for example, you also very often get to hear that VA singing the theme as well. This next one I like to call story outside the story. These are the kinds of endings where the visuals are portraying some kind of shit that seems to be pretty unrelated to the main plot at the time, and they're often telling you some kind of story that's maybe loosely related to some of the characters that you know, or maybe you just have no fucking idea what's happening and it's just a vibe. Here we also tend to get a lot of overlap with the previous category, the character-focused endings, where the ending is portraying the character of interest in their own unique story outside of the main plot. Ufotable slow panning shots. Okay, one more meme category. You know how ufotable shows have this kind of aesthetic to them? Like, it's like the Fate aesthetic where the drawings and animations are super clean and modern, and there's also tons of visual flashy effects. Well, it turns out that their iconic style kind of extends past just the show's art style and bleeds into the OPs and EDs too. In the case of endings, for some reason, they love slow panning shots. Like, they really, really like slow panning shots. Holy shit, they do this for everything. Now, I'm kind of crediting Ufotable with this, but in all likelihood, it's not something that they invented. There's also plenty of other examples of other studios doing this too. Okay, special endings. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that it's no secret that most people are probably ending skippers. So how can we use our ending themes in a way that people might actually stick around for it? Well, one effective way is to make it special in some way. Starting off with inserts and partial inserts, which means that the beginning of the song is inserted into the end of the episode while it's still playing out. This might just be something the show does for every episode, or maybe just once or twice during special episodes, or they might just bring in an entirely new song that's not the normal ending theme just for one special episode. This kind of goes without saying, but inserts are fucking sick, and they can really play into that whole emotional amplifier thing I was talking about earlier. I'm mentioning it again, but when I finished Demon Slayer episode 19 and the insert played, I didn't go, oh wow, that was crazy, and then I hit the next episode button. No. I was sitting like this, in complete shock and awe at what I just witnessed. And that fucking song and slow panning shots played at the end, and it had me in absolute shambles. There's so many more examples of this, but here's just a few more. Okay, cinematic endings. Think back to your first time going to see Avengers Infinity War in theaters, and the movie's almost over, and then all that shit happens. And the movie ends, and you're just sitting there fucking devastated, mouth open, but no popcorn going in because you already finished the entire thing during the previews. And then the credits roll, and it's not the funny, goofy rock and roll song you were expecting. It's somber, depressing, leaving you totally hanging. And I think for me, that music choice was what kicked me in the gut harder than anything else. Now, I'm not saying anime movies are exactly like this, but no, actually, no, I am saying that. When I say cinematic endings, I don't even necessarily mean anime movies. But going past that, these are endings that give a sense of finality and grandiosity, even if it's not the last episode. They're basically the ones that give you a feeling of importance, like a lot of significant, game-changing things just happened, and that this ending is your chance to go and really think about all of it. Having these kinds of endings can, once again, really emotionally prop up the story that you're trying to tell. And once again, here's some examples, some from movies, some not. Episode specifics. So this category has a lot of crossover with the other ones. Like technically every movie has a single episode specific ending, but there's a ton of really great one-time endings out there that I wasn't able to mention that I just want to give some appreciation here. I feel like endings that are specific to a single episode basically represent the studio going way, way above and beyond to deliver an insanely polished product. When you get one of these, it tends to be a good sign that the show that you're watching is fucking high quality and that the staff were really dedicated and passionate towards the project. These can be fun meme ones like the Chica dance or My Nonfiction from Kaguya, or the fucking Oingo Boingo thing from Jojo Part 3. Or you can get shit like Evangelion, which has Fly Me to the Moon for the ending every episode, but it plays a different version of the song every time. Or you could go absolutely fucking apeshit and make an entirely new original ending with a completely different song, artist, animation, even animation style for every single episode. 12 times in a single season. But obviously that's not possible. No show would ever do something like that, so let's just move on. For the last time in the video, here's some more examples. Okay, and that's all the categories I could think of for now. Once again, I really want to say that I love ending themes so much, and I want this video to be a celebration of how great they can be. These songs and animations have accompanied me and so many other people through some chill times, funny times, and emotionally charged times, all from the ends of anime episodes. So regardless of whether you're usually an ending skipper or if you love them as much as I do, I really hope I was able to show how great anime endings can be. Now stop skipping the fucking endings!